Well, good morning, guys. It's Pastor Andy, and thank you for joining me for devotions this morning as we continue going through the Sermon on the Mount here. We're in Matthew chapter number 5, and I want us to look at a couple of verses together this morning. Jesus said in Matthew 5:17, "Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's law and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter into the kingdom of heaven." That's a pretty serious thing for Jesus to say here. Let me ask you a question. You ever see the picture or the little figures of the three monkeys, and it's the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? Those are pretty funny. And that's kind of something that goes along with what he's talking about here. The religious folks here were spiritually religious men. They were real religious on the outside. I mean, they knew the law. They memorized every painstaking detail of the law so that they could have it. That's just what they did. They knew what the law said. But what did Jesus say? Look at verse 20. "But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." That's a key statement for us to understand. If we don't understand this statement, we can't move on. We have to understand this because the rest of the Sermon on the Mount builds on this one statement. You see, the reason is the Pharisees, the teachers of the religious law, they followed the law outwardly. They followed the Old Testament letter of the law. And there are some people who say that that's all they need today is just the Old Testament. Can I tell you, those people are just like the religious teachers of the law and the Pharisees here. Focused on the exterior, focused on the outward conformity. This is a righteousness that's only skin deep. When I was growing up, my dad used to say, "Andy, be careful of pretty girls," because pretty girls, he said, beauty is only skin deep, but ugly goes all the way to the bone. And that's what pretty much can be applied here. I mean, this religiosity that these Old Testament scholars had was skin deep, but their ugly went all the way to the bones. You see, Jesus didn't just come for exterior conformity. He came for interior transformation. He wants to transform our heart. If the inward is right, then the outward is going to take care of itself. If my heart is right, then I'm going to obey the things that Christ wants me to obey and do the things that He wants me to do. See, there's too many of us that focus on the outside today. What we have to do, what we have to wear, how we have to look to be a Christian. All of these things that we say are spiritual. All these things that we say are requirements for Christianity. And with this group, appearances are paramount. But there's a problem. They overlook anger. They overlook greed. They overlook jealousy. They overlook bitterness. They overlook lust. They overlook bigotry. They overlook a lot of things because they're only focused on the outside and they do not examine the inward man. See, that kind of a person might be acceptable in church, but they're not acceptable in God's kingdom. We've got to focus on the inward man. We've got to focus on the heart, and we've got to allow God to do the inward work, the inward transformation, and not focus so much on the outside conformity. Let's get in God's Word. Let's let Him transform us from the inside out. And until tomorrow, God bless you and have a great day.